Now let's take a look back at the boxing on Saturday night. talkSPORT had you covered.
Artur Beterbiev has had his hand raised. Ascending judges were in favour of Artur Beterbiev, and he's the undisputed champion via a majority decision.
No one really knew how the fight was going, what way it was swinging, a real seesaw, and for me now, Artur Beterbiev, pound for pound, number one.
It's a wonderful win for Artur Beterbiev, however you've scored it. I had it a draw, you had it a draw, Johnny had it a couple up to Bivol. I thought Bivol probably deserved it.
I am a warrior. I don't have any explanation because it could look like excuses. I just congratulations to Artur and his team.
I won more good box today, but I didn't like this fight, but I'll be better one day.
So the headlines from the card: Fabio Wardley stopped Fraser Clark less than a full round into the heavyweight rematch. Controversy surrounded Ben Whittaker. His fight ended in a draw after he and his opponent Liam Cameron fell over the ropes. Chris Eubank Jr. claimed a 7th round knockout win. Sky Nicholson beat Raven Chapman to win the WBC featherweight title. And of course, as you heard there in the main event, Artur Beterbiev became undisputed light heavyweight champion, defeating Dmitry Bivol by a majority decision. Let's bring in top boxing broadcaster Ade Oladipo. Morning to you, Ade.
Ade.
Morning, guys. Morning.
So let's get straight into it. Was Bivol robbed, in your opinion?
Robbed's a strong word for this one. Look, I thought he won at 7-5, which is very, very close. It's a close fight. It could have been a draw. It could have been 7-5 the other way. So I'm not sure. I've watched it back as well. Sometimes when you're in the arena, you can get carried away with the noise and you can hear certain portions of Bivol fans or Beterbiev fans every time a punch lands. I watched it at home, silent, just myself, and I still scored at 7-5 Bivol. So Bivol can feel hard done by, but it was such a close fight. It's what you like, Jeff. Do you like the aggression of Beterbiev, or do you like the hit and miss of Bivol? And I prefer the hit and miss of Bivol.
I mean, a question about the judging, Ade. I mean, what do we do about judging? Because the discrepancy, it's not just this fight. We see it time and time and time again. How can one judge score it level at 114 each and another call it Beterbiev by 4 rounds? The discrepancy just seems impossible.
Yeah, it's really bad. And there's always been a problem with judging. And I think the problem with Jeff is that everyone's trying to find a solution to it. I think when a judge has it very wide, or when it's a bit sort of just not in sync with the other judges, I think that judge should be held accountable. Whether it's the British Boxing Board of Control, that judge should be brought to them, explain the scorecard, score it in front of us right now, round for round, explain how you gave it to certain fighters. And if they can't do that, then I think they should be suspended. Sometimes you look at the judge and you think it can only be corrupt. I'm not saying that was the case with this one, but some judging is just horrendous. This wasn't as bad, but I do think judging needs to be looked at.
Ade, it is strange when you see that. I mean, look, he has a bias, Eddie, and it's his fight till Bivol. But the reaction at the end of the fight, they really believed they'd won, hadn't they?
Yeah, I mean, Eddie was livid after. I mean, he hadn't calmed down for an hour after. He thought his guy did enough. I mean, I think he was more upset with the 116-112 scorecard that Jeff just alluded to, which suggested that Bivol only won 4 rounds. I thought Bivol won 7. So that's where you can see there's a problem there. And again, I think that judge should be held accountable. Okay, explain it. You scored it 116-112. How? And if they can't explain how, then there needs to be questions asked, because a lot of people ringside. I was right next to commentary. I saw other teams as well. Potter teams, Sky were there, TNT were there. How did you have it? A lot of them had it Bivol. So when that happens, you kind of have to ask questions as to how Beterbiev won the fight. But very, very close fight to score.
Technical draw for Ben Whittaker in the end. He and Liam Cameron both ended up outside of the ring. Now, a lot of people have said that at that stage, they thought that maybe Whittaker was in trouble. Would you agree?
Yeah, he was. He was. And look, I'm a big Ben Whittaker fan. I spoke to him all week, very, very confident. Some might say arrogant, but I don't mind that if you can back it up. And I said, look, pressure's on this week, Ben. You got to deliver. When you talk as much as you do, you got to go in there and deliver. And unfortunately, he didn't. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he froze in the moment. Stylistically, he fought a different style compared to what we used to see in that kind of flash, arrogant way of fighting. He kind of went back to basics, found a way out.
Ade, I got to ask you, because it felt like to me it's one of the craziest nights of boxing that's ever happened. And you've touched on the Bivol fight, and Beterbiev and Fraser Clark had a 1-round knockout against it. Obviously, him getting beaten so quickly after, going 12 rounds before. Then you had Conor Benn jumping in the ring to confront Chris Eubank Jr. It felt like a crazy night, apart from the Whitaker stuff in boxing.
Yeah, it was crazy. Not only Conor Benn, Neymar's in the ring.
Yes.
I'm like, well, what's Neymar doing in there? Like,
with his mate. He's with his mate.
Yeah, and then Conor Benn starting to speak Spanish to Neymar, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? Look, Conor Benn's wanted this fight for a couple of years. We all know what happened the first time round. But this is the one that Conor Benn wants. It's the one Chris Eubank Jr. wants as well. I've said for years that Chris Eubank Jr. should try and win a legit world title, but he likes the Conor Benn fight. He might look at it as a risk-reward thing. Low risk, high reward, right? He's going to get paid a lot of money. And Conor Benn was there to make sure that fight happens. Get in the ring, instigate it. And on Monday, people like what we're doing now, we'll talk about it. So it's worked, I guess. But yeah, seeing Neymar in the ring and like this is WWE tag team was quite strange.
Yeah, it's surreal night. Just before we let you go, Ade, obviously Fraser Clark took a heck of a blow, didn't he? A heck of a blow from Wardley. Any update on his condition?
Yeah, he's okay now. He's had surgery. He made his way home yesterday. It was scary because I went in the ring to do the post-fight interview after, and he was still out there, and you could see a dent in his face as well. I think he's fractured his cheekbone, and it looks going to be a long way back for Fraser Clark. He's not young in the sport either. He's 33. He's a great guy. But even he said, you switch off for 1 second in heavyweight boxing and your lights can be turned out. And Fabio Wardley just landed, one of the heaviest right hands you're ever going to see. So look, he's okay. Rest up, and we'll see what happens with Fraser Clark next year.
Yeah, well, that's good news at least. Ade, thank you very much indeed.
Cheers, Ade.
Cheers,
Bye-bye. By the way, Jeff, the Neymar, obviously, Conor Benn, that's a setup. I'll tell you for why. They play in the high-stakes poker in California, Neymar and Chris Eubank Jr. They play in the same game. And it's a high-stakes game in America. It's televised. You can actually watch it. They're friends.
Yeah.
That's been set up for, Neymar's mate to fight as well.
A high-stakes game. I'd have thought that Neymar was a bit less vulnerable in that respect. I think he's got a few more quid, probably. Yeah,
he plays it's at the Hustler Casino, which is quite well known in California. They play, and they're at the same table, Jeff, and you can see them having banter between each other.
Interesting. John in Troon says, Jeff, good shout. Who cares about the jungle and all that tosh? The world's gone soft. And gossip daft. Don't get me started on the footballers. We need more Jockstein, Shankleys, Bobby Robsons, Brian Cloughs, etc. Somebody else said to me, Jeff, Pep played for Spain 47 times. Why is the Catalonia thing suddenly such a big deal now? I honestly don't know whether it is or not. I don't know Pep. So it was just a thought, that was all. And Simon from Newcastle says, absolutely Pep. Not only the best coach, but imagine the input he'd have at St. George's and the influence on young coaches. He'd shape the future of English football, and that is priceless. If we are very late to the break.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.